So stress, right, is fairly common. Almost all of us experience stress at some point. Most of the time, stress is helpful. There's a curve to stress, right? So as long as we're in the general area of stress, not being too high or too low, it actually helps us get things done. I imagine you could think of a time where you were slightly stressed out and it pushed you to finish whatever the project was, or finish that homework assignment or that work project. So some stress can be helpful. The problem with stress, though, is that sometimes it can be unhelpful, where it hits the peak of the curve. And at that point, we become disconnected from ourselves. And instead of trying to tune into the task that has to be done, instead we're wrapped up in our body's response. And for different people, that looks different. So your curve might look different. Some people might get to that peak really quickly, or for others, it might take kind of a long time, but eventually you get there. So when we're using mindfulness or meditation, we're trying to just pay attention to where are you at in that curve, and what do you have to be doing to try to keep yourself in the section where you can still do what you have to do and take care of yourself and the tasks around you. Also, when stress gets to be too much or it's triggered by perhaps some sort of reminder of something, our body can go into the fight or flight response, which is fairly normal if we feel like we're re-experiencing some sort of trigger we've had in the past. You might, if this has ever happened to you, you might notice that your heart rate increases, your breathing might become rapid and shallow, your blood pressure might go up, and your brain is really telling you to go into survival mode. And when we do that, usually we're just suppressing our normal thought functioning, so that we're more focused on what do I have to do to survive this moment, which can be really helpful if indeed we're in a situation where we have to just get out of that moment. The problem is that gets triggered for a lot of folks, myself included, when actually I'm not in a dangerous situation, like objectively. My body's telling me I am, but objectively I'm not. So what we also want to use these skills for is to try to help kind of bring our brain back to the here and now, and to check in again with ourselves if we feel like it's getting triggered and it isn't necessarily an objective thing that you can realize would be kind of triggering for you in the moment. And we know that the more the body's triggered and the higher our stress gets, that can impact all sorts of functioning in our bodies. So we can have cardiac problems, we can have high blood pressure, we can have an increased risk of stroke. There's all sorts of things that the mind and the body connect, right? So the more that we can pay attention to our stress levels and try to check in with it, the better we're doing for our entire body. So that being said, we're going to go into a little bit of a practice today. This is one I kind of pulled together just based off of different things that have been happening for me and different patients that I've been working with this week. So I'm combining some things I haven't done before. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully you will have a neutral to better experience with the practice. So today, let's find a spot in your space that feels comfortable. Again, when you're practicing today, you can stand, you can sit, if you prefer laying down, whatever position that feels like it's comfortable and available to you today, I encourage you to now gently shift into that position. And as you're shifting into that position, just pay attention to your body and what is it telling you today. Stretch out your legs and your feet a little bit, shake them out as you're just settling in. Same thing with your arms, your neck, your shoulders. Roll them and release that a little bit as you settle in. And for our practice today, if it's available to you, you can close your eyes. If that is not something that's comfortable, gently find a spot on the floor or the wall to just rest your gaze. And then I invite you to just notice your breath. Some people like to put a hand on their chest and one on their diaphragm or right underneath the rib cage, if that helps you connect with paying attention to how your breath is coming in and out of your body today. I encourage you to do that if that feels helpful. If not, just pay attention to your breath. And just notice where your breath is coming from today. Do you notice if it's more a breath out of your chest or out of your belly? Just take note if you're breathing out of your mouth or your nose, where the air is moving in and out today. And then I encourage you to try to slow that breath and make it a little bit deeper and a little bit longer. And we're going to try that just a couple times. Trying to breathe a little bit more into your belly and holding it on the inhale for just a second longer and just 1 second longer on the way out. So as you've paid attention to your breath, I now encourage you, if you're in the space to do so, is that when you're breathing in, I encourage you to make the sound or the letter M as you breathe out. So let's just practice that in the space that you're in for a couple seconds. So when you breathe in, it should be your normal sense of breathing in, whatever that is for you. And on the way out, let go of an Press your lips together gently as you're practicing this and find the level of pressure between them that creates the most vibration that you can feel in your head from the sound. Try to make that M or as loud as you can in your space. I'm going to invite you to practice this a few times in your own space. Again, taking in a deep breath and then letting it out with the As you continue to practice, and we're going to practice a couple more rounds, pay attention to what that vibration feels like in your head and your body. The humming sound you're practicing is really effective in stimulating your vagus nerve, which is one of the branches of your parasympathetic nervous system. So this can be used when you feel over aroused in some sort of situation to help your system reset and relax a little. So I again encourage you to try this 3 more times. And then just let your breath go back to whatever feels like its natural rhythm. And just check in with yourself. If you're having thoughts, that's okay. Take note of those thoughts and then let them go. If you notice any emotion has been kicked up, that's okay. Take notice of that too. And then see if you can let that go and return back to your breath. And again, I would invite you to focus on your breath again. This time as we're practicing, we're going to take a deep breath in. And as we exhale or breathe out, we're going to make the sound shh, right? So as if you're telling someone to be quiet. So let's try that just to get a sense of it for ourselves. So breathing in, and then as you exhale, make the sound shh. Practice that once or twice in your space. And now try to make that shh noise even louder in your space, if it's available to you. As you continue to repeat the shh breath, pay attention to how it feels between your chest and your stomach. See if when you practice the shh, you can really empty out your lungs and then do another round. As you're practicing the shh, notice that you're opening your diaphragm. And the diaphragm or our belly often gets stuck or tight when we're in a state of fear, which limits our breath. The practice of this breath helps us to open that space a little bit. Let's try that practice just a few more times. Breathing in and breathing out with the shh until it feels like you've emptied your lungs. And as always, do what feels comfortable. That'll be different for everybody. If something's feeling uncomfortable, we always ask you to stop and just shift into something else. There's no right or no wrong here. Breathing in and breathing out with the shh. Now I invite you to come back to your natural breath flow. Again, check in with your body and notice what it might be telling you. Make a note of that and then see if you can let that go. Notice if any thoughts are trying to come in or come out. Again, noticing them as if they were clouds floating by in the sky and releasing them. Same thing with any emotion that might have gotten activated, to notice and then shift back to your breath. And for a few seconds, just notice your breath. We've practiced together both calming our system and waking it up or activating it a little bit with the shh and calming it with the mm. These are now both skills that you have when you notice that your body is feeling like it's being pulled in one direction or the other. Take a moment to thank yourself for trying both of these today. And then return back to your breath. As we think about the practice today and the weeks behind us and the days or weeks ahead of us, let's focus in on today. And in this moment, I encourage you to pick a word or a phrase that you can return to remind yourself of this place of peace right now. Take a moment to find that word or phrase. Now that you've picked that word, I encourage you to hold that in your mind's eye for just a moment. And say it to yourself 3 times. And then simply return back to your breath. Noticing what thoughts might be moving in and out. Noticing that there's no right or wrong right now. Feeling the calm of just being in the moment. Then when you're ready, I ask you again to anchor with the word or thought that you repeated earlier on, and hold that in your mind's eye as you now come back into the space, wiggling your toes, moving your fingers, bending your knees a little bit. Moving your shoulders or your arms. And finally, if your eyes were closed, reopening them into the moment. Paying attention to the colors or the lights, or even the sounds that might be in the space around you right now. Thank you all for the practice today. One of the things I tried to weave in a little bit was another idea that I've been trying to incorporate more, which is a mantra for the day or even the moment sometimes. So today we practiced picking a word that helped us connect back to the feeling or the reminder of whatever space we were in as we practiced today. But picking a mantra or a saying for the day, if you're checking in with yourself, perhaps when you wake up, can be really helpful to re-anchor yourself throughout the day when stress levels do change and ebb and flow. That's been one of the things that has been helpful to realign and bring people back into the moment, as it's so easy to get pulled out to the what ifs of the future or the should haves in the past. So if that is an idea that feels like it would be helpful for you, I encourage you to start your day off with a mantra and see if you find any sort of connection to that as you work your way through your day. As always, if you have any questions for me or Ray, who are the two co-facilitators, you can send us an email. For today, my email is Haley, my name, Hayleyv @howardbrown.org if you have any questions or concerns. And other than that, I wish you a peaceful rest of your Friday.